Okay, hello again. This is Dr. David. Welcome to tonight's webinar on 5 keys to healthy weight loss. There's our disclaimer slide, and that's what I look like. Well, the beard comes and goes. And here's what Sherry looks like. She doesn't have a beard to worry about. And we have partnered together along with people like Vicki and other wonderful presenters and experts in their field to bring you the best information, and not just the best, but the most useful. It's not enough to give you great statistics and great information. It's more important really to give you information that you can use and apply. So it has to be simple, but it has to be appropriate. It has to be something that you can apply on a day-to-day basis, and I think Vicki's presentations are perfect examples of that. Our mission is twofold: to help people better understand how their minds and bodies work. That is the absolute bottom line, period. Unless people understand how their minds and bodies work, they will not be equipped, they will not be inspired, they will not have the wherewithal to find and look for the most important or the most effective modalities, be they nutrition, medical care, preventative measures, technologies, detoxification strategies, all those other things that make for good health. They will not be equipped to find those things, and that's why we do what we do. We want to help in that regard. And again, I mentioned that we had a wonderful presentation on prevention. Dr. Lepke talked about a couple of things, and I just want to point out a couple of things that he mentioned with regards to obesity, which would be our weight loss is our topic today, but he mentioned a couple of things about obesity. And he mentioned that the top 10 conditions, the impact, this chart really is an impact, what the studies have shown have the greatest, what conditions have the greatest impact on the workplace. I mean, what's the financial burden that conditions can cause. And you can see right there at to the very left, depression carries the greatest financial burden on work, and it goes in upwards of 350,000. But right there next to it is obesity. And really, obesity is related to depression and really every other thing that you can see right here. The heavier you are, and I'm going to show you the next slide, the heavier you are, the worse or the higher your risks of everything from cancer to diabetes. And you can see over here that type 2 diabetes, your risk for type 2 diabetes is 60 times as much when you are obese than if you are not overweight. So a lot has to do, a lot hangs on weight, and again, Vicki is going to help us to really help to understand that. We made available a couple of presentations series at a really good rate. I mean, less than a third of what you would normally pay for it. And remember, these are all presentations that last an hour and a half, and each of these healthcare professionals, presenters have taken their time to really explain each concept, from the relationship between cancer and nutrition, to relationship between nutrition and the brain, to what you need to do about your teeth, and really when it comes to hormones, how hormones and breast cancer are related and what you can do to balance out your hormones with Jackie. So this is a great collection that I would encourage you to take advantage of. It is right there on the homepage, along with another series called the Nutrition Series. That also comprises of lots of great presentations. Okay, enough said. I've said a lot, and it's time really to get into the meat, what we came here for. And I don't have a bio in front of me, but again, all I'm going to say is this: Vicki is going to be doing quite a few presentations regularly for us, as many times as we can possibly have her. I mean, I would love her to do one every week, but obviously she's a very busy person. She has a very busy practice, and well, we will just take maybe once a month. Hey, Vicki.
Once a month sounds good to me.
Once a month sounds good to you. That will work for us as well. So Vicki, and Vicki has done a couple of presentations on toxin-free pregnancies, intentional sexuality, and really wanted to do something on chocolate as well very soon. But Vicki, I'm just going to hand this over to you and say thank you again for just taking the time to do this presentation and get ready for it. Over to you.
Okay. I think everything's ready to go. Well, it's my honor to be here tonight and to talk to you about something that everyone has on their mind right now, because most of us have made New Year's resolutions to do something that was healthy. They say that most of the resolutions either have to do with making more money or losing weight. And so I'm going to talk tonight about this topic, losing weight. For 30 years, I've been counseling women on nutrition and diet and helping them to lose weight. And over the years, I've talked to so many women who've had so many issues involving this that I've learned a few things along the way, and so I'm hoping that I can pass on at least a few pearls of wisdom to you tonight. Now, I've been doing a talk called 5 Keys to Health. A lot of people are concerned now about making changes, but there's so much information out there, so I thought that this would be a simple way to tell people, okay, if you're ready to begin a new health regimen, what would be the 5 most important things that you need to focus on first? And so what I'm going to do is to go beyond these 5 things that I think are important to improve your health, with stress reduction, exercise, diet, detoxification, and supplements, to go beyond that to discuss this primarily involving weight loss. So I'm going to jump right in and talk about stress reduction. A lot of people don't realize that cortisol that comes from your adrenal glands, while doing some very good things in our body, also does some really harmful things when we're stressed out all the time, which most of us are. Whenever we're in a situation where we either are or we perceive that we are in a threatened situation, we kick out cortisol to begin the fight or flight response. And whenever we do that, we increase inflammatory responses in our body. It also suppresses our thyroid, which our thyroid is our major way our body uses to balance our metabolism. That's one of the things I see in my practice, that women come in and they've got a weight issue and they're just sure this has got to be their thyroid. And unfortunately, most of the time I find that people who are overweight, their thyroid function is normal. The people who I see who has more often I see with this are thinner women who come in saying they're incredibly fatigued. And fatigue is hugely, it's just the #1 sign that I see with thyroid problems. But due to, I think, toxicity in the environment, I think, is playing a large role, we are seeing more and more thyroid issues. And I'm seeing more thyroid issues involved with people who are having problems with blood sugar issues, which I'm going to talk to you about in depth. But women who don't have problems with their blood sugar, it's not as often the thyroid. But the thyroid is important, and if you do have any issue with your weight, it's very important that you do have a thyroid test. Just a simple TSH is usually enough to at least give you a baseline to find out how you're doing. But whenever you're kicking out cortisol on a regular basis, then this has a suppressing effect, even temporarily, on the thyroid, and it's certainly not going to be helpful in keeping your metabolism going. And then blood sugar imbalances that I'm going to talk to. You know, when you take steroids, if you are a diabetic and you have to take a steroid for some reason, your blood sugar just goes haywire. So when you're kicking out cortisol, it also is going to give you temporarily increases in your blood sugar, which are, of course, not going to do any good on helping you when you're working on your diet. It has some other things about decreasing your bone density and affects your blood pressure, raises your bad cholesterol, lowers your good cholesterol. But one of the major things it does, too, is that it makes your body deposit your fat in your abdomen. Now, none of us like having a big butt, but a big butt does not give you diabetes, but a big tummy will. So, you know, we think of the fat that's in our abdomen as being this solid blob of something that we often see, like on Dr. Oz, and they'll bring out this blob, and it'll say this is what it looks like to have a pound of fat. But actually, fat, when it's in your abdomen, is quite liquidy. So that means your internal organs are all just floating in this sea of fat, cycling and recycling that. So one of the most important things in losing weight is we need to get that weight out of our tummies. That's where it's doing the most harm. And kicking out cortisol isn't going to help that any. The next thing I want to talk about is exercise. Exercise is absolutely critical for you to lose weight. You've heard that muscle weighs more than fat. Well, it does. 6 times more. So you can actually lose some fat, maybe have exercised and gained some muscle mass, and actually even gained weight overall. Because if you have the same volume of fat and the same volume of muscle, that volume of fat is going to, or muscle is going to weigh 6 times more than that volume of fat. So you might have lost some inches, and you might have noticed that your clothes are feeling looser, but you might not see any difference on the scale to begin with. Now, over time, you will see a loss, but that is something that gets people very discouraged when they start their diet, especially if they're exercising strenuously and building some muscle. But muscle is metabolically active, and fat is not. And muscle burns calories, and fat just sits there. So you don't want to be on a diet where you're not eating, because if you're starving, your body is going to make you lose muscle mass. And there's a diet out there right now that's very, very popular called the HCG diet. And the reason this diet is successful is that you go on an extremely low-calorie diet, about 500 calories, and you take HCG, which is the chemical that your body secretes, actually that the newly developing baby secretes, that causes your body to increase estrogen and progesterone to stabilize and maintain the pregnancy. But if you're in a state of starvation during pregnancy, your body will go and burn fat rather than muscle. And that's why that diet is successful for people, is because if you starve yourself normally, your body will go burn lean body tissue. But when you're pregnant, it will go and burn fat because it knows it needs to save that lean body tissue for you to be able to be healthy through your pregnancy. So that's how and why that diet works. I'm concerned about that being used with men because it does increase estrogen and progesterone in their bodies. And while women are used to having HCG in their body, a man naturally will never have HCG in his body. So I'm a little concerned about this long term, but this is something that if you want to go on this diet, you should probably discuss it with a physician who's very knowledgeable with it. But anyway, back to exercise. One of the things I think is people don't really realize how much they're carrying around. I don't know if you all like to watch The Biggest Loser on TV, but one time I was watching this, and it was the final episode, and the 3 final candidates had to go up this big ladder up to the top of the building and ring a bell and slide back down, and the one who got back first was going to be the winner of The Biggest Loser. Well, they were all smiling and high-fiving like, oh, we are in such good shape, we have been exercising, we can do this. Except that then they announced that they were going to have to put back a bodysuit in which they would have all of the weight back on their bodies that they started the competition with. Well, as they began to go up this ladder, by about halfway up, they were barely able to make it. And by about 3/4 of the way up, all three of the final candidates were weeping. And I was watching it, and I started crying with them too, because they began to realize how much weight they were carrying around. And once they got to the bottom, they allowed them to take off the suits and to do it again. And boy, they just shot up that ladder and shot back down, and they were jumping and screaming and yelling, and they were so excited. And what they all said is, I didn't realize how much weight I was carrying. I never want to carry that weight again. And that's the thing, is that when you're exercising and when you diet in a healthy way, you're not going to be carrying around all of this weight. So one of the things I recommend you do is that you get a 5-pound weight and you put it in your purse or put it in a backpack, and you carry that around with you for a couple of days. And then you take it off and you find out what not carrying 5 pounds will feel like. This will highly motivate you to stay on your diet. But one of the other things that exercise does for you, and we all know that the heart is a muscle, and having good exercise increases our cardiovascular health. But one of the other things that it does for you is it makes your lymph fluid flow. We have 4 times more lymph fluid in our body than blood. You have your heart to pump your blood, but what do you have to pump your lymph fluid? Only movement. And movement increases the movement of the lymph and the elimination of toxins. The lymph fluid is what carries your macrophages, your killer T cells, all the things that seek out in the body, find and destroy viruses, bacteria, funguses, and cancer cells. So not only will you decrease your risk of all kinds of illness, but you will move that lymph fluid and move it out of your lower extremities, move it out of through the body. And so overall, you're not only going to lose weight, but you're going to be healthier also. And so the best way to exercise is to find something you love to do and do it every day. And if you like to do several things, then break it up. One day do aerobics, one day go to a dance class, another day walk, another day do some powerlifting. But one of the things we can all do simply every day, everywhere we go, is to power walk. Power walking is where you walk until you feel short of breath and you feel this burn that kind of happens on the back of your calves. You probably felt that. And when you feel that, that means your body has used up its oxygen and it's now using lactic acid to fuel your muscles. So what you want to do is you want to walk fast until you are short of breath, meaning that your body needs more oxygen, so it's making you breathe faster, and you feel that burn. And when you feel that, then you want to do that for about a count of 10. Then back off. And when your breath returns to normal, and your breathing is regular, and the burn goes away, that means now oxygen has just poured into those muscles. And that is going to speed up your metabolic rate. 20 minutes of power walking has been shown to increase your metabolism for the next 3 to 4 hours. So it's not that you have to do something that takes a long, long time, but you just have to do something cardiovascular that is going to move that lymph, make that heart work, and challenge your system enough to increase your metabolism. And that's going to work really well on helping you not to have to carry around all that weight. Now, stress reduction. Having a strong spiritual faith, spending time in prayer and meditation is very, very important for reducing stress. They found that in people who lived to be over 100 years, the number one thing that they believed made them live so long was their spiritual faith. Knowing that God is in charge and that things are going to be okay is a tremendous, tremendous stress reducer and really helps to lower that cortisol and keep you from packing on the pounds from all of that adrenaline running through your body. The next biggest stress reducer is exercise. As you exercise, you burn up that cortisol, you burn up those stress chemicals, and so exercise is absolutely critical. But here's something you may not know. It's very important that when you are going to go and exercise, that you stretch first. What this does is it tells your body you are getting ready to exercise. It tells your body you're not stressed out, you're not needing to fight or flight, which is what it tells your body when you just jump into exercise without warming up. You actually may kick out more cortisol. So you want to prepare your body to let it know, nope, we're not running, we're not fighting. What we're going to do is we're going to exercise. So you want to take time to stretch out and do a warm-up before you start. And then your body is more likely to burn fat while you're exercising than to burn sugar. The next thing is to find a helpful friend to be your accountability partner. It needs to be a helpful friend, not somebody who's going to jump down your throat when you don't do it right, but somebody who will hold you to your particular weight loss plan. Somebody that you can call when you're facing that banana split and just say, I want it, but I know I can't have it. And for them to help you say, that's right, let's think of all the things, all the reasons why you're wanting to lose this weight. Some of those reasons David talked about in the beginning when he gave us all the information about all the benefits in preventing you from raising your BMI and putting yourself at risk of diabetes. All those things are so critically important. And I don't know anybody who's very successful with their weight loss who doesn't enlist the help of their family and their friends and make sure it's helpful friends. You don't want somebody who's going to say, you don't need to lose any weight. What are you talking about? I think you look just fine. You want somebody who'll be honest with you and say, I think you ought to be healthier too. Let's help you to be healthier. And I do suggest that you journal, that you get some way that you document the journey that you're having to the weight loss that you're working, that you have a reasonable goal so that you're not stressed by the goal that you have. There was a study that was done where they had people, they asked people who were going on a diet, if you lost 10% of your weight, which I always think is the best first goal because studies have shown that 10% weight loss has remarkable benefits. But they asked these people, if you lost 10% of your weight at the end of your diet, would you consider yourself a success, a mild success, or a failure? And 90% of people said if they went on a diet and they only lost 10%, they would consider themselves a failure. So you need to have some reasonable expectations. And I always think 10% is a good place to start because what you will learn in losing 10% of your weight is going to teach you everything you need to know to lose the rest of the weight that you need to lose. And finally, a great stress reducer is to make sure you avoid dehydration. Most of us walk around stressing our body and our brain by not getting enough water. The biggest reason people don't drink water is because, to be honest, it makes them go to the bathroom all the time, especially women. We kind of have TWB, teeny weeny bladders, and we tend to have to go to the bathroom a lot if we drink a lot of water, so we tend to avoid that, but it's not a good thing. And here's something you may not know. We have the most remarkable kidneys. Our kidneys are designed that whether you live in the desert or you live in the rainforest, your kidneys will adjust to living with the amount of water that you give them. So when you go from living in the desert, walking around dehydrated, to increasing the amount of fluid you have, which is a very healthy thing, it's going to take a little while for your kidneys to adjust, usually about a week. But if you will increase your fluids, even though you'll go to the bathroom a lot, in about a week's time, your body will adjust. It's like your body thinks, oh my gosh, they moved from the desert to the rainforest. Now there's plenty of water. And so now your body won't have to urinate out all of that extra fluid. It'll actually adjust to it, and your body will be much healthier for it. And of course, always try to find the purest, cleanest water that you can get. Okay, our next topic is diet. So we've discussed stress and exercise. Now we're going to talk about our diets. And in general, our diet should be a balanced choice of carbohydrates that are complex, meaning that they're full of fiber, lean protein, healthy fat, and as much fiber as you can get in your diet. You want to eat your foods eaten as close to a natural state as possible, and whenever you can, try to go and purchase your products, your foods, from local things like food co-ops or cooperative agriculture, or if you have a farmer's market, try to go and find local produced food grown as close as you can find to where you live. They're going to be the freshest, they're going to have the most nutrients, and they're going to make you feel better when you eat them. And we want to improve our body mass index. A normal weight person has a BMI of 21 to 24. Overweight is 25 to 29. Obese is a BMI over 30, and morbidly obese is a BMI over 40. Now, we all hate that word, morbidly obese. I mean, isn't morbid just like the worst word you know? Well, what morbidly obese means is this, that you don't get to a BMI of 40 without having what we call comorbid problems. In other words, you can be obese, you can have a BMI of 30 and not be a diabetic. But if you are morbidly obese and your BMI is 40, you will be obese. You will have cardiovascular disease. You will have significant health issues. Another thing that's important for you to know is that when you're at that normal weight, BMI of 21 to 24, your risk of cardiovascular disease and diabetes is very low. As you climb to overweight, 25 to 29, your risk of diabetes and cardiovascular disease goes up slightly. But when you hit 30, that risk goes vertical. So your very first weight loss goal when you look at a BMI chart is to get your BMI to 29. Because just as it goes vertical, when it goes from 29 to 30, it drops vertically on your risk when you go from 30 to 29. So 29 if you're overweight, and if you're obese, 29 is your first goal. And then what you learn getting to 29, you can use getting to 24. Here's some examples of how the body looks at these various levels of body mass index. We all know we're in an obesity epidemic, and that it's very costly. It causes people to miss work, and is a major cause of most of the preventable deaths in the U.S. and worldwide. Now, these are very interesting obesity trends. In 1990, there wasn't a single state where there was, and remember, obesity is a BMI of 30, but there wasn't a single state where the level of obesity was above 10% or above 15%. Now, there's only one state, and that's Colorado. And I can tell you, my daughter lives in Colorado, and when you live in Colorado, if you're overweight, you are treated like a second-class citizen. They look at you like, what is wrong with you? And it's just almost not allowed. And there's so much peer pressure there to lose weight and to be fit and to be healthy that people just do maintain their weight. But here I am. I live in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is the third leading state in obesity. Kansas is a state close to me where I lecture a lot, and so I looked up their statistics, and they're 27th. They're way behind us in adults, but they're not behind us in children. So they're not looking very good for their future. But how is it that we have gone in 20 short years from an obesity rate of 15% to where most of the country is over 25%? And if you go overweight, not obesity, but overweight, almost 70% of America is at least overweight. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit, what some of these trends are. And I think one of the major keys for you to understand, and if you don't learn anything else tonight, I want you to understand this, and that is to avoid insulin resistance. Now, what is insulin resistance? Well, glucose is a carbohydrate that the cell uses as its major source of energy. All carbohydrates convert immediately in the body to glucose. Some things convert slowly, and some convert quickly. Those that convert very quickly we call high glycemic carbs. Those that convert slowly we call low glycemic carbs. Most low glycemic carbs are that way because they're full of fiber. Now, whenever you eat something that has a carbohydrate, your body matches that carbohydrate with a certain amount of insulin. High glycemic carbs cause your pancreas to release lots of insulin. Low glycemic carbs cause your body to also secrete insulin, but at a much, much lower level. Insulin acts on our cell membranes to make them permeable to glucose that is circulating in our blood. And our human brain uses 20% of our glucose supply whether we're asleep or awake. So that means that when we get low blood sugar, the first thing that goes is our brain. So if our blood sugar gets low, does our brain say to us, my blood sugar's low, I think you should go steam me some broccoli? No, it says, you better give me a cookie, and you better give it to me right now. So raising your blood sugar and having it crash back down is the worst thing that you can do for harming your diet. That's why I don't promote diets where people don't eat. It's very important that you eat multiple small meals daily so that you keep your blood sugar stable and you keep your brain fed with glucose so that it doesn't get low blood sugar, so that you can be thinking clearly to make wise choices in the foods that you eat. Because literally your brain does think that it's dying when it gets low blood sugar, and it is going to tell you to eat. I don't know about you, but I know if I've eaten a good breakfast, I can walk past a donut. Doesn't bother me at all. But if my blood sugar's low and I haven't eaten and I walk past that donut, my brain sees it and my brain says, eat this or you will die. And so guess what? I'm more likely to eat it. So it's very important. This brain-blood connection with our blood sugar is very important. Another thing that's important, another chemical in the body besides insulin, is adiponectin. This is another co-hormone with insulin that's produced by the body, and it helps to reduce our blood sugar levels by making the receptor sites on our cells for insulin to be more sensitive, therefore more sensitive to insulin and less resistant. Now, as you gain weight, your adiponectin levels go down, so that makes your body less sensitive and more resistant to insulin. So this is what happens normally. Insulin comes, it attaches on the cells, and the adiponectin makes our cells very sensitive to that insulin so that the glucose that's circulating in our blood can get inside our cells where it is needed, where it can feed our brain and feed all of our metabolic processes. But what ends up happening over time is, for many, many reasons that I'm going to explain in a minute, we can get into a state where we have higher levels than normal of circulating insulin. And so what ends up happening is this high levels of insulin, after a while, cause our bodies to develop resistance so that our bodies don't respond to the insulin and the cells don't become permeable to the glucose the way they're supposed to. So you end up with a glucose-deprived cell. You feel tired, you don't feel well, you don't have the energy, so you decide to skip your exercise program today. And you might feel extra hungry because your cells are deprived, and so they're going to send out a signal to your brain that says, I didn't get enough glucose. Would you please tell her to eat a little bit more? And so what are these extra glucoses going to do that are remaining out floating in the bloodstream and not getting into the cells as they should be? Well, our body stores that excess glucose as fat. So therefore, we begin to gain weight. So you can see over time, there's this very difficult thing that happens, because at first you have insulin that attaches and the glucose comes into the cells the way it should. But as you develop insulin resistance, you begin to gain weight. As you begin to gain weight, your adiponectin levels go down and your body is not as sensitive to the insulin as it was before. So now the insulin comes and attaches, and now the glucose doesn't get into the cells the way it should, and therefore the excess glucose that's remaining in your blood gets turned into fat. Now over time, what ends up happening is, as you become more and more insulin, you're resistant, your pancreas tries to overcome that resistance by secreting more and more and more insulin, until eventually the pancreas just wears plumb out. And so therefore, no longer are the beta cells of your pancreas producing the insulin that they need. So now your insulin-resistant body no longer can produce the insulin that it needs. Blood sugar stays high in your blood all the time, not just after you've eaten. And then we call you a diabetic. And here's the scary fact. When you go in to your doctor and you have your blood sugar checked, they usually check a fasting glucose. And until you are a diabetic and until you have lost 40 to 50% of the functioning of your pancreas, your blood sugar is going to be normal. So going in and getting a fasting blood sugar is not telling you anything, really, about how your body is functioning, handling glucose. The test that you need to take is called a 2-hour postprandial glucose challenge. When you do this, you come in and you get a fasting glucose, and a fasting insulin too, I always think is good, because then you find out what your insulin level is before you begin to eat. A normal fasting insulin would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8. And after you eat, it should rise. But if your fasting insulin level is already 35 or 50, then you know that when you eat, your insulin level may be over 100. And that is just way, way, way too high. But the other thing you want to get is a fasting glucose, and then they challenge you with 75 grams of carbohydrate. And then you get your blood sugar checked at, I do it at 1 hour and 2 hours. Sometimes I'll even do it at 3 hours. If your fasting blood sugar is normal, but your 2-hour blood sugar is the same as your fasting, that probably means that at 3 hours you're going to have low blood sugar. It's completely normal for you to be hungry, and you should want to eat every 3.5 hours. So people who starve themselves by going hours and hours without eating, this is not a good thing. You should be hungry, and if you have any guilt about that, you need to get over it. You should be hungry every 3 to 3.5 hours. 4 at the most. You should never go longer than 4 hours between eating, even if it's just a snack. So maybe a piece of fruit, or some veggies, or maybe some nuts or seeds. I always tell people to, on the weekends, make yourself up your snack bags, and make yourself little baggies that have 10 nuts, because a nut is 10 calories each, so 10 nuts is going to be 100 calories, and we want to create 100-calorie snacks. So put about maybe 5 walnuts and 5 almonds, or 5 cashews and 5 almonds, or 5 almonds and 2 tablespoons of sunflower seeds, whatever you like. But make yourself a little snack baggie of about 100 calories of nuts, or make yourself a baggie of carrots and celery and cucumbers and radishes, or whatever kinds of raw veggies that you like, and put them in a little baggie. Or make yourself a hard-boiled egg. That's another great snack. But just make yourself a little, and then have fresh fruit. And never, never leave home without a piece of fruit and a little snack baggie in your backpack or in your purse. And if you'll carry those with you, if it's been 3 hours and you're hungry, eat. It's okay. If it's been 4 hours and you can't get to food, real food at that point, again, have yourself a snack. But this will keep your blood sugar stable and will help you to stay on your diet. And this will keep your blood sugar nice and stable so that you won't eat the wrong thing. And it will keep you from having low blood sugar. So we're back to our original thing. When your fasting blood sugar is a certain amount, let's say it's 80, but you get this challenge test and your blood sugar is still 80, you're well on your way at 2 hours to having low blood sugar. So now you know that what's happening to you is that you've got too much circulating insulin, and the insulin is pulling the sugar into the cells so quickly that it is lowering your blood sugar. The next thing that would happen is you would do your test and your fasting blood sugar would be normal, but at 2 hours your blood sugar is 200 or 180. What that means is that not only have you got too much insulin that's being kicked out, but you've developed insulin resistance. So the blood sugar is not getting into the cells where it needs to be. It's still floating out in the bloodstream. So now you know you have insulin resistance. Now if you do a fasting blood sugar and it's already over 110, or even if it's between 100 and 110, you can know that your body is beginning to lose functioning of the pancreas. And if it's over 120 on more than 2 occasions, then we label you a diabetic. Now, these are all the different foods categorized. Now, I don't know what you like to eat. I don't know if you like cauliflower or broccoli. I don't know what veggies you like. I don't know if you like green beans or pinto beans. I don't know if you like split peas or cashews or almonds, or I don't know what you like. I'd almost be sure to know that you do like dark chocolate. I don't know what fruits you like. So whenever I counsel people, I don't tell them what foods to eat. I tell them what foods to eat in specific categories. Now, your body digests first carbohydrates, which it turns into glucose, then proteins that it turns into amino acids, fats that it turns into essential fatty acids, and then fiber. So whenever your body is eating something that is high in fiber, that's going to slow down how fast it is absorbed into your body. It's going to determine how slow that glucose is going to be utilized by the body. And that's why these foods that are called low glycemic are low. It's because they are very high in fiber. Now, high glycemic foods are not bad. They're not bad carbohydrates. They're just high glycemic. They cause your body to release a lot of insulin, and they turn to sugar quickly, unless you eat them in a high fiber form. If you eat a whole grain, high fiber bread, it's going to turn to sugar much, much slower. If you're going to eat grains, you want to eat not white rice that's all processed and everything's been taken out of it, but you want to eat a whole grain rice that still has the bran and the germ intact. If you're going to eat pasta, eat whole grain pasta. If you're going to eat potatoes, eat little small new potatoes that have their little jackets still on them, so that you've got all that fiber from the potato to help match the high glycemic part of the potato. And bananas are a fruit that, while they are excellent in many nutrients, they do cause you to secrete more insulin, and they do turn to sugar faster. Do you know what one of the highest things you can eat that is one of the highest glycemic things, and most people consider it a health food, is a rice cake. I mean, I don't know anything that turns to sugar faster except maybe cotton candy than a rice cake. I mean, that thing is so processed, it just turns right to sugar right away. So if you do love rice cakes and you love that crunch, and they are only 50 calories, put some peanut butter on it. Put some almond butter or cashew butter, something that's going to slow down how fast it's going to turn to sugar. And don't eat 3 rice cakes, only eat 1, and that will be a lot better. Now I'm going to go through this a little bit more when I talk about all the different kinds of diets. But I want to talk first about some things that you can do to eat foods that will reduce your insulin resistance. And I believe these are some of the reasons why America has become so overweight in the last 20 years. If you think back about what happened back in 1990, there are some changes that have occurred in the way people were counseled and also what people were eating. Back around 1990 was when monosodium glutamate started being added to most foods. Now, you have to get a chart. If you go online and put names of MSG, you will find there are hundreds of different names of MSG. They sneak it into foods sometimes by just saying artificial flavors, or sometimes it will, well, I used to have a whole list of it, but if you'll Google this online, you'll be able to see all of the amazing names. Hydrolyzed protein, a lot of times, is MSG. But what MSG does is it actually causes your body to secrete more insulin. So therefore, it is going to kick out more insulin. So if you eat a cookie you buy in the store that has MSG, it's actually going to make you secrete more insulin than the cookie that you make at home. And that's true of any foods that you eat that has MSG in it. Artificial sweeteners also, they have been shown to increase insulin resistance. High fructose corn syrup, no, it is not just corn, because it actually turns to sugar quicker than regular corn syrup and quicker than other forms of sugar. So therefore, it is a very high glycemic carb, and it can increase your risk of insulin resistance. So anything that has artificial sweeteners or high fructose corn syrup, any of these sugar-based drinks that people eat, all can be something that can increase your insulin resistance. And even fruit juice in excess. Doing more than about 2 ounces of fruit juice is really a lot of sugar for the body to handle at once. So it would be better if you just eat a small amount at a time. Or even better, just eat the fruit itself, because then it still contains the fiber. And you know, when you eat an orange and you see that white pulp around it when you peel your orange, that has bioflavonoids in it. It creates collagen in the body and makes for healthy skin and healthy blood vessels. So eating, sometimes we call that vitamin P because it's in the pulp that's in fruits. So you want to eat that fiber in our fruits and vegetables because of the increased amount of flavonoids that it provides to us. Also, of course, refined carbohydrates. Everybody knows white flour, white sugar, all the things where they have removed all the bran, all the fiber, all the healthy nutrients from it, and so these things are going to turn to sugar quickly. They're going to stimulate a lot of insulin, and they're going to increase your risk of insulin resistance. Nitrosamines, which are nitrates that are in processed meats. And also, where we live here in Oklahoma, a lot of people drink well water, and you need to have your water tested because high nitrosamines are very common. And nitrosamines have been shown to increase insulin resistance. In fact, there's been a study that was done with women who ate lots of processed meats, things like bologna and hot dogs, in pregnancy, and it actually increases their chances that they will have a baby that will be born with type 1 diabetes. So you want to avoid these kinds of meats, especially when you're trying to lose weight. Now, these are carbohydrates that will support a healthy normal blood sugar. If you are wanting to eat a low-calorie sweetener, the one you want to use is stevia. This is a naturally sweet herb, and it actually heals the pancreas and helps to reduce your chances of getting insulin resistance. Plus, I think it tastes better. Two that I really love is one called Sunnydew, and another one is called Sweet Leaf. And you can get Sunnydew from a Sunrider distributor, or you can get Sweet Leaf from most health food stores. Fruit, of course, any whole fruit, due to its high fiber content, is going to help support a normal blood sugar. All your healthy fats, nuts, seeds, and avocado, these are carbohydrates, even though mostly we consider them on the fat list because they are primarily fats. But they all are healthy fats and very low glycemic carbohydrates. Again, they are very high in fiber. And of course, all your veggies, especially your green leafies, and because of their high fiber content. And in foods, carbohydrates stimulate very little insulin and do not cause insulin resistance. And dark chocolate, and I'm going to talk more about that later. Now, maintaining a healthy weight. Diets don't work. Lifestyle changes do. And so that's why things like the HCG diet, I know a lot of people are losing weight on it, but can you live on that forever? No. Is eating 500 calories a day healthy for your body? No. So overall, long term, these are not things that you can do. And what I see over and over is that people lose weight, but then they gain it right back because they don't learn anything from the process, and they don't diet in a way that they can develop this into a lifestyle that they can live with forever. So that's why I don't support some of these diets. The low carbohydrate diet, I'm not fond of it. Sometimes people call that the Atkins diet, or there's different ones. This is when you eliminate and don't eat anything in the carbohydrate group. You eat only from here over. Now, why this diet works so well is that you're not eating any carbohydrates. So since you're not eating any carbohydrates, you're not kicking out insulin. And since you're not causing the pancreas to secrete insulin, you're not increasing your insulin levels. And in the presence of high circulating insulin levels, it's very difficult for your body to break down fat. So when you, even if your insulin levels are high, if after you eat your insulin level is still the same as its fasting level because you didn't secrete any, because you didn't eat a carbohydrate, then it's going to be where you are going to lose some weight. Also, usually these diets, people don't eat that many calories because how much protein and fat can you eat in your diet all day long? After a while, it becomes a very boring diet, and people just don't eat as much. But another reason I don't like this diet is you are eating so much protein that that high protein is very hard on the kidneys. Also, most of these diets don't distinguish between good fat and bad fat. We do not want to be saturated with fat. We want to be unsaturated. So instead of eating just the good fats, it encourages you to also eat saturated fats, which is not very healthy for the cardiovascular system. So that's one of the reasons that I'm not a big fan of these diets. Short term, sometimes they can be helpful, but long term, they're not anything you can adapt as a lifestyle. Low-fat diets, I don't like those because, again, when you're eating only the when you're eating no fat, since your body digests carbs, then proteins, then fat, then fiber, if you eliminate fat from your diet, what you eat is not going to make you feel full. We call this satiety. You eat a meal. That's why you go eat a meal, you eat Chinese food, and it's all vegetables and noodles, and it's very, very, very low fat, and an hour later you're hungry again because there was no fat in the diet. So since there wasn't much fat, it didn't make you feel full for very long. Now, I don't like fats where you are eating, where you're eating a lot of bad fat. You want to avoid these kinds of fats as much as you can. Now, when you're eating meats, you want to eat lean meats that are very low in saturated fat, but except for fish, which has mostly unsaturated, some saturated, but mostly unsaturated fat. These other forms of protein are going to have saturated fat. And this is one of the things that being a vegetarian can be very helpful with, is because it is very low or has virtually no saturated fat, but it's high in unsaturated fat because you're eating, for instance, chia seed is one of the highest sources of omega-3 fatty acids. So a very, very good source of protein and very good source of healthy fat. Low-calorie diets don't work because our body needs at least 1,200 calories a day just to function, to make our heart beat, to make our lungs breathe, to make our muscles move. We need 1,200 calories a day. So never, 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 never should you eat less than 1,200 calories a day. If you do, you're going to perceive that your body's going to perceive that you're starving. And then all kinds of metabolic compensation mechanisms go into effect whereby your body says to you, hey, don't burn fat because we better hang on to that fat. She's not feeding us, and we don't know how long it's going to be till he eats again. So we better not burn any fat. Your body will burn calories if it knows it's going to have what it needs. There was a book called Fooling the Female Fat Cell, and in it they found that there's a delicate balance between calories in a woman and calories in the way a woman burns calories and the way a man burns calories. Whenever a man is starving, his body says, oh, we must slim him down. He needs to run faster to catch more buffalo. So therefore, it will make him lose weight very quickly. But then the weight loss will stop, and then he will lose weight very slowly. But with a woman, when a woman doesn't eat all the calories that she needs to maintain her normal metabolic rate, which is that 1,200 calories. When a woman doesn't do that, her body says, oh no, she's starving. If she does not eat, we will not survive. If she got pregnant, what would we do? Don't let her lose any fat. Keep those fat stores. So then your body doesn't burn fat. It will burn lean body tissue instead. And so you won't lose weight. So when they did a study in this book, they talked about where they took women and men and they figured out for their weight and height exactly how many calories they needed to have to lose weight. And the women and men both went on the diet for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, the men and the women had all lost the same amount of weight. But the men lost it in the first 3 months, and the women lost it in the last 3 months. So for women, it is much harder to lose weight, especially if you don't eat the right amount of calories, because your body just will not let you lose weight. So what you want to do as a woman is you want to eat not quite enough calories to where your body will go and get some fat to burn, but plenty of calories to make sure that your body doesn't ever perceive that it's starving. So that's why low-calorie diets really don't work. And one of the worst things people can do is that they quit eating breakfast. People say, yeah, but I get up in the morning and I'm not hungry. And so it's good. I can skip a meal. The reason that you're not hungry is that after 6 hours, your body begins to use protein. It needs to use glucagon instead of glucose for energy. So when you wake up in the morning, when you get up and start moving around, if you have not eaten, your body begins to produce ketones in response to what the fact that you're starving. Those ketones kill your appetite. You don't feel hungry. But that doesn't mean that your body's not starving. So you need to get up and you need to eat something. Ideally, something you want to break your fast with protein, because overnight while you were sleeping, your body was using glucagon that it makes out of protein for its source of energy. So you want to replace that protein that you've lost during the night while you were fasting, while you were sleeping, and you want to eat something protein when you first wake up, and then that jumpstarts your metabolism and gets you going for the day, get you in the process of revving up that metabolism and burning calories. Now, food combining diets, vegetarian or vegan diets, and raw food diets, these can be excellent diets, and they can really, really help you to lose weight. You can get information on food combining diet. That's Suzanne Summers does her diet with that. I kind of call that diet 102 because it is a little bit more difficult. It requires a lot more strenuous effort, but nutritionally it's a very sound diet. And I've found with some people that when other forms of dieting doesn't work, the food combining diet will be the thing that will really trigger them to have a good weight loss. Vegetarian and vegan diets, raw food diets, again, excellent diets, but you have to really know what you're doing. You have to learn how to balance proteins and do the things that you need to do to have a healthy diet, and also make sure you're not eating too little calories. And I do want to mention about vegetarians, because I do know some people who are vegetarians who eat almost exclusively carbs, in their diet. And they don't eat a varied diet. They just basically live on pasta. And I know a lot of vegetarians who drink soda pop and eat lots of cookies and candy, and they wonder why they go on the vegetarian. Why am I not losing weight? Well, because you're eating so many high glycemic carbs, even though you're a vegetarian. So you need to balance out that vegetarian diet with a very well-balanced version of proteins, vegetarian proteins, and good healthy fats. Now this is the diet that I love, and that is the low, high glycemic carbohydrate diet. And what I recommend then is that you eat primarily from low glycemic over minus the bad fat, avoiding as much of the bad fat, saturated fat as you can. But you know, if we never got to eat any of these foods, we probably wouldn't feel very happy. These are, you know, wanting to have a piece of bread or a potato once in a while. You know, those things kind of are happy foods. We like those foods, and they're such a part of the American diet that to eliminate them completely is almost impossible and makes it really hard. And again, goes back to my thing that diets don't work, lifestyle changes do. So this is what I recommend. Only eat once daily, which means from this list, which means that you can't have toast for breakfast, sandwich for lunch, and pasta for dinner. If you're going to have pasta for dinner, have yogurt and fruit for breakfast. Have your little baggie of nuts for a mid-morning snack. Have a salad with maybe some chicken on it for lunch. And then have a piece of fruit in the afternoon. And then for dinner, have some pasta, but have a half a cup of pasta and a cup and a half of vegetables, rather than 2 cups of pasta and a half a cup of vegetables. So primarily eat from here over and allow yourself once a day. So pick out what are you going to have. And if you're going to be going to a meeting and you know they're going to serve muffins, have a muffin. But that's it for the day. You've had your carb. So now for dinner and for lunch, make sure that you stay eating from these other categories. And if you'll find that if you will do this, you will have excellent weight loss, especially if you keep your calories in the 1,200 to 2,000 calorie range. Now if you're about 5 feet to about 5'4", I recommend you eat between 1,200 and 1,400 calories. And if you're eating mostly from this category on your carbs, you're eating lean meats and some vegetarian sources of protein, you're eating healthy fats, and you're eating them in the highest fiber form that you possibly can when you eat your carbs, you're going to find it really hard to get 1,400 to 1,600 calories into your diet, because these are the things that also have the highest amount of calories. If you are about 5'5" to about 5'8", and you're a woman, you need to eat 1,400 to 1,600 calories a day. And if you are about 5'8" and over, you probably need to eat somewhere between 1,600 and 1,800. If you're a man, just add 200 calories to that. So in other words, men need to eat about 1,400 to 1,600 or 1,600 to 1,800 calories, depending on if you're, say, under 5'10" or over 5'10", if you're wanting to lose weight. Now, once you get to your ideal weight, you can probably add an extra 200 calories a day back into your diet, and you'll be able to maintain your weight quite well. But while you're dieting, you need to watch what you eat and how many total calories you eat, of course. Now, some people are also being helped by thermogenic diets. Thermogenic diets are where you're using state-of-the-art technology that help to speed up your metabolism. My favorite way to use that is with a program called the WayFit program. It starts as all good, healthy diets should with a colon cleanse. This is really good because there is some thought that you may not be what you eat, you may be what your bacteria eat. And they have found that there are some bacteria that actually make your body crave sugar. Also, if you have a problem with yeast, and many people do, yeast also are going to be craving sugar as well, because sugar is a yeast favorite food. Anybody who's ever baked bread knows that's for sure. You know, you add the yeast into the warm water and not much happens until you throw that spoonful of sugar in there. And then, poof, next thing you know, that water is just bubbling away. Well, that's what happens when you feed sugar to your yeast. So doing a good colon cleanse helps to clear some of that yeast, clear some of that bad bacteria out. And the WayFit system not only does that, but it also has some probiotics that help to put back the healthy bacteria that you need. It also has something called the burn, which speeds up the metabolism and helps you burn about an extra 200 calories a day. So you can fool that cell by making sure you get 1,200 to 1,400 calories, but by taking the WayFit, it's going to knock an extra 200 calories off, so your body is going to need those extra calories and go and burn some fat to meet its metabolic needs. It also has some meal shakes, which are optional. In fact, all of these things are optional. Some people like to just use the cleanse, and that's fine. They all can be purchased separately. But the WayFit, what I love about this is that it's sweetened with stevia, and it has 20 grams of protein. So this is a wonderful way to start your day, because a lot of times people are like, well, I just can't eat, I just can't get up and eat breakfast because I just don't have time. Well, you'll have time to make a shake real quick. You can even just shake it up in a shaker bottle and take it with you out the door and drink it in the car on your way to work. So it's going to give you 20 grams of protein, but only 225 calories. And the thing that I love about the WayFit program is this. Remember how I talked about your belly and having your belly fat? Well, that's the thing that I love about it, is what I see is that everybody who gets on it, what they lose is they lose the weight from their bellies. You'll see here, that's what has happened to these women. Okay, so enough about that. One other thing I want to mention about weight, just a couple of little quick hints. What is that I recommend that you get yourself a sign that says the kitchen is closed. And after you finish dinner, you turn off the lights of your kitchen and you put a sign on your refrigerator that says the kitchen is closed. If you do really want to have something else to eat, I recommend a hot drink. Get a hot cup of herbal tea. This will really make you feel less hungry and satisfy that little bit of craving that you might have. Another thing is, after you finish your dinner, go and brush your teeth. When we leave carbohydrates in our mouth, they sit in there and sometimes make us want to eat more carbs. And you can break that by going and brushing your teeth. You will find it will really help get rid of that, ooh, I just want something else sweet after you finish eating. The other, like I said, is make sure that you eat about every 3.5 to 4 hours, and don't feel guilty about it. You know, one of the things that if we've done a lot of dieting is we get to the point where sometimes food becomes the enemy. Food is not the enemy. It's the food choices that we make that are our enemy. It's starvation and getting low blood sugar. That is the enemy, because that makes us unable to control what we eat, control our cravings, and make good choices. So I know some people will, before they eat something, will say to themselves, have I been good enough to eat today? And you need to tell yourself, yes. That is false guilt anytime I think that my behavior is related to whether or not I've been good enough to eat today. You've got to make food your friend, and you've got to get rid of any false guilt involved with eating, or you won't be able to be successful. I could probably talk for 30 minutes more about all of the psychological issues that are related to people with weight issues. It's been found that at least 60% of people that are obese, especially women, have been sexually abused as children. And carrying extra weight can be a mechanism that protects them from intimacy with other people. And if you've had this problem, and if you've experienced this tragic in your life, you need to go and find that helpful friend or seek a counselor so that you can resolve some of these issues. Because sometimes people can lose weight and then they'll gain it right back because they're so uncomfortable with being thin, because it's been such a protection mechanism for them. And so I don't want that to be your reason for why you don't lose weight. So if you've had this tragic thing happen to you in your life, and food has been your friend, but not your good friend, it has replaced the good friends that you really know that you need and want, then you need to go find other people that can be your friend. And you want to make friends with food in a healthy way. So that's enough of that. But next I'm going to talk about detoxification. So we've gone through for 3 keys: reducing our stress, exercising, eating a healthy diet, maintaining a normal weight, and now we're going to talk about detoxification. We live in a very toxic world, and it's getting worse because every year another 3,000 chemicals are created for industrial use, and most of them have not been tested for their effects on human health. We know we live in a very toxic world. In fact, when we had our recent spill in the Gulf of Mexico, there was 183 million barrels of oil spilled in, and the Katrina spill was only 68,000, and we know what tragedies that did to the environment. So we really have no idea yet what this is going to do to impact the environment. But while we don't have any argument with the fact that we know our world is now becoming more and more toxic, we wonder though, but are we toxic? And this was just a mind-altering study that back in 2005, the Environmental Working Group investigated the amount of toxins that were in the umbilical cord blood of newborns. and they found an average of 200 toxic chemicals. Every baby had Teflon. Every baby had flame retardants, pesticides, and mercury. The CDC has recently upgraded how many toxins they say the average American is carrying from 147 to 215, and you can read this on their website. Now, our bodies are very good at detoxifying, but when our body burden, which is the amount of toxins that are present in our body that exceeds the amount that our body can detoxify through normal body mechanisms, we end up with what's called a body burden. And our liver, our skin, our kidneys, our bowel, all these things are very good at eliminating toxins. But when they become overstressed, then our body is going to go and store those toxins in our body. And when it does, it's going to store those toxins in the most inert tissue that it can, which is primarily going to be bone and fat. And fat cells that contain toxins have been found to have a chemical messenger around them that says, "Take me last." They are the most difficult fat cells to break down. You know, people don't lose their fat. They simply empty out the fat cells that they have. As we gain weight, our fat cells fill up, and as we lose weight, our fat cells empty out. But when our fat cells contain toxins along with the fat, they don't want to give up that fat because it's going to release the toxins back into the bloodstream where your body doesn't want it. So detoxifying is absolutely important for helping you to lose weight. We have a toxic burden that is linked to many, many conditions besides just obesity, and these conditions have all been shown to be related to a toxic body burden. Now, how are we going to detoxify our body? Well, there are pharmaceutical treatments called chelation therapy. This is taking a chemical agent that removes the heavy metal or toxin. It only removes heavy metals. It doesn't remove any toxins. It's risky, it's expensive, it's non-specific because it removes, along with heavy metals, good electrolytes like calcium and magnesium. And while it's very rare, people have actually died from this type of therapy. So if you do get chelation therapy, it's important that you go to someone who's highly skilled. But even one chelation treatment usually costs hundreds of dollars and has to be repeated over and over with lots of lab work. So my favorite way to detoxify is using zeolites. They are toxin traps. These are negatively charged minerals with a cage-like molecular structure. They draw into themselves and trap molecules of specific size and specific charges. So it will remove not just heavy metals, but all kinds of industrial toxins. It will remove those nitrosamines I talked about. It will help remove all kinds of volatile organic compounds, things like formaldehyde, pesticides, herbicides. It also removes viral particles when they are replicating, allergens, and even radioactive particles. Its cage-like three-dimensional porous structure provides a space in which to trap these toxins and carry them away. It's about 80% excreted through the kidneys. We say you put in a clean cage and excrete a dirty one. And it is completely safe and non-toxic. Even pregnant women can and should detoxify using natural cellular defense. This is the original zeolite. There are a few copycats that have come out, but this is the only one that I recommend because it's the only one that is both purified so that you're putting a clean cage into your body and micronized so that it can actually get into your bloodstream and remove the toxins from your fat cells. I personally, when I started this product, lost 14 pounds in the first 3 months that I was on it. Now, I'd always eaten healthy, and I continued to eat healthy as I always had. But as I'd gotten older and older, I had been putting on more and more and more weight till I was about 15 pounds overweight. At the time that I began this product, I weighed 140 pounds. After 3 months, I weighed 125 pounds. I've been on this product personally for 5 years, and I weighed 125 pounds today. I have easily maintained my weight, give or take a pound, for 5 years now with no problem. And I think it's because I take this and it keeps my toxin, my fat cells, free of toxins, so easy to break down. But now we have a new way you can get this product, and that's by eating dark chocolate. Remember how I told you chocolate? Dark chocolate is a bean. It is a low glycemic carb. It's made out of organic cacao, and it's kosher, it's vegan, and it's high in antioxidants and flavonoids. In fact, it's the highest, whoops, that's supposed to be 37,000. It's the highest ORAC value ever tested. It's very rich in potassium, magnesium, and omega fatty acids. And every piece of this chocolate contains 5 drops of this natural detoxer. So when you are having that craving for something sweet, you can have a piece of chava because it's only 40 calories. It's just like eating a bean. And so it's very, very helpful. It also increases serotonin in your brain and calms down those craving centers that make us want to crave the things that we shouldn't eat. And it is a low glycemic carb. Finally, number 5, nutritional supplements. Now, if you've taken a supplement that you didn't think that really did you much good, it may have been because you took a synthetic supplement. There's many, many studies that have compared synthetic and natural food-based supplements, and by far the natural food-based supplements are much more effective and much healthier. One of the problems, however, is that food supplements are not regulated. However, if you buy a product that says it has been manufactured with a CGMP, with good manufacturing practices, and is certified as such, then you can trust that if it says there's 400 micrograms of folic acid, there's 400 of micrograms of folic acid there. Because our food supply no longer has the amount of nutrients that it used to, everyone needs to take a vitamin and mineral supplement daily. And there are certain nutrients in the body that have to be there for your body to lose weight. One is B-complex vitamins. You can't break down fat cells unless you have an adequate amount of B vitamins. B vitamins are primarily found in green leafy vegetables, whole grains, and these are in our low glycemic carbs, or in our high glycemic, but eaten in a high fiber form. And our body every day has to have these nutrients. They're water-soluble vitamins. Our bodies don't store them. So you can't eat your cup of broccoli today and think that's going to work for you for a week. It's not. You've got to eat these things every single day. And so in order to make sure that you get adequate amounts of B vitamins, I highly recommend that you take a nutrient with a B complex vitamin every day. Also vitamin D, very important for your body for all of its hormones to work properly, but has a mechanism of action that helps with weight loss. A lot of people who are overweight are on statin drugs like pravastatin, simvastatin, all these different kinds of statin drugs. These drugs, while very good in lowering cholesterol, also block the ability of the body to make a natural hormone that's essential for the functioning of muscles called CoQ10. So if you're on a statin drug, I highly recommend that you be taking CoQ10. Other nutrients are omega-3 fatty acids. Even if you're eating your healthy fats, you may still need to eat a fish oil. And those omega-3 fatty acids are very healthy and important for helping you maintain the balance of healthy fats in the body. So now I'm going to show you some different products from some different companies that I found to be very, very helpful as nutritional supplements. Dietary fiber is very important. It delays gastric emptying and slows the absorption of glucose into the bloodstream. Now, insoluble fiber will clean our colon. Remember, you can be what your bacteria eat, so you want to keep your colon clean of unhealthy bacteria and full of the healthy bacteria. And soluble fiber will heal our colon and reduces our uptake of fat in our GI tract, and it helps to lower our bad cholesterol. Also, plant sterols are very good at lowering bad cholesterol. Inulin is something that helps to feed the healthy bacteria in our colon. Also, I'm very fond of probiotics to help feed, again, the colon with the healthy bacteria that you need versus unhealthy bacteria. And one of my favorite fiber, and dietary fiber, eating 30 grams daily reduces your risk of cardiovascular disease by 45%. And eating a plant sterol daily will lower your LDL cholesterol by 20%. So this is a product that I love because it has all of these things. It has soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, plant sterols, and inulin. So it's going to be very beneficial for the body. This is a stevia product that I love. Again, this is sold by people who are distributors for a company called Sunrider, and this is called Sunny Dew. It's not only stevia, but it is specially processed to keep in the product all the vitamins and nutrients. It is a whole plant, so it has synergy and helps to balance blood sugar, and it has chrysanthemum that also nourishes the pancreas. The other stevia one that I like, again, is called Sweet Leaf. This is another nutritional supplement that comes from the Wayora company, and I love their products. It has 150 nutrients in every drop, and it has a lot of the B vitamins that you need, among other things that are also very, very healthy in the body. And these are some other, quote, juice products that are out there, but none of them has even close to the amount of nutrients that are in the essential daily nutrition. And with these 150 essential nutrients in a liquid, you know that you're going to get good absorption. It's not going to be a pill that may or may not digest. It's going to go in and give you the nutrients that you want. This is another product that I love called the Garagold because it increases adiponectin in the body by 40%. Remember when we were talking about blood sugar and I talked about how in order for your body to be sensitive to the insulin that you have, that you need to have adiponectin. In fact, adiponectin is one of the 5 top factors on whether a person will progress from just having abnormal blood sugars to diabetes. Low adiponectin levels is one of the critical factors. So while you don't want to have high insulin levels circulating, you also don't want to have low adiponectin levels. And this Agaricus blasi mushroom supplement increases the adiponectin your body makes by 40%. This is also powerfully, has anti-cancer benefits. In fact, there was a study that was done by the National Institute of Health that showed that if you took this product in the animal study, it showed a 99% prevention rate and a 90% remission rate of cancer. Now, we don't know how that relates to humans, but we do know that that's what it does in animals because of its high content of beta-glucans. Beta-glucans increase macrophage and killer T-cell activity, and as you're exercising and circulating that lymph fluid, your body is seeking out, finding, and destroying abnormal cells in the body. Another product I like is called Mila. It comes from a company called LifeMax, and this is organic raw chia seed, and it's specially processed that slices every seed in order to increase the absorption and the assimilation of the nutrients. It is a complete protein. It's vegan and gluten-free, and it has 5 grams of fiber per 2 tablespoon serving, and it provides 3,000 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids. It's the highest source of non-fish oil fatty acids. So, in summary, eat real food. If nature made it, eat it. But if man made it, you got to watch out. All those chemicals, all those additives, they are not working synergistically in your body the way real food does. So try to make your diet as much as possible real food. Second, make friends with food. You can't just say no. Don't make food your only friend, but don't make it your enemy, because it's not. You have to eat to live. But don't live to eat to live. And finally, love your body enough to feed it what it needs, not necessarily what it wants. We get a lot of food cravings for things that we want that we know our body doesn't need. And when we love our bodies, we will give it what it needs and tell it no about the things that it just wants. This is my contact information. Let's see. Try to. So it's your move. You can make whatever decisions you want about your eating, but just remember that fit happens, especially if you will follow these recommendations. And so that's what I want to have happen for you, is that 2011 will be the year in which fit happens for you. So this is the end of my presentation. This is my contact information if you want to call me, or if you want to email me, if you want to know where any of the products that I've mentioned, where you can get those things. I'll be more than happy to let you know about that and give you people that you can contact where you can get some of these things. Now, if you have any questions, you can type them in, and I'm going to see those questions, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. So right now, if you want to type in any questions that you have, please do so.
Hello, Vicki.
Yeah.
Hi there. Excellent, excellent job. Excellent job. This is you are one of the few people I know who can keep going and maintain your tone and maintain the pace for such a length of time. This is fantastic. Such great information you have shared. I really appreciate this.
Well, thanks. Well, I love what I do.
Apparently.
We have a question here from Paul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to go ahead and read it?
It says, can someone have big muscles, well, I can hardly see this, and look overweight by measurement, but actually have a lower BMI? Absolutely. And that's why men need more calories than women do. But they don't need a huge amount more calories, but they do need to eat about 200 calories a day more than most women, because most men do have a much higher muscle mass. And some people look thin, but it's because they actually have a lot of fat laying on bones, but they haven't worked out very much. They don't have a lot of muscle mass. And this is one of the things that when you try to lose weight by starving, what will happen is you will lose that muscle mass that's metabolically active, and overall, over time, you'll end up with a higher percent of fat to muscle mass ratio, which will make it more and more and more difficult for you to lose weight. Because remember, fat just sits there. It's muscles that burn your calories. So the more you can build muscle, even though it weighs 6 times more than fat, the more you can build muscle, the more metabolically active your tissue is going to be, and the easier it's going to be for you to maintain your weight. Does that answer your question?
Well, I'm sure it does. That's a good answer. That's good. Well, I'm sure you'll type in a further question if he's not clear on it.
Okay.
Those were great resources you mentioned too. WayFit. I know we've had what's her name? One of the ladies who formulated WayFit actually come on and do a presentation, and I was impressed with the information she shared as well. What's the lady's name who did WayFit? It's not Jennifer. Is it?
Robin?
Robin Freytag. That's right.
Robin. Yeah.
Robin Freytag.
Yeah. And one of the things that I have seen, because I've had many patients who've used the WayFit, and I see usually about a 30-pound weight loss in 3 months. I see usually about 10 pounds a month of weight loss. And
is that maintained though? Does that stay off?
It is maintained, and it is maintained. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way you brought in the whole cortisol, insulin dynamic, because all those hormones play a huge role in the whole weight issue.
It's absolutely huge, and most people just don't think about stress as being a reason why they gain weight, but it really, really contributes to weight loss,
mm-hmm.
I mean to weight gain.
Mm-hmm.
And it contributes to you getting your weight being deposited in your tummy.
Right, right. They're selective for the abdominal part region, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of factors just work together to make us grow fat. All right. Well, folks, send in your questions.
That looks like. Oh wait, I think we. Nope, we don't have any more questions. Is that all the questions? Looks like we still have 11 people who are on. Does anybody else want to type in a question?
Well, the thing is, we have people on the phone as well, but obviously they can't come across, and they can't type questions either. But I tell you what, this will be a great recording that we can archive, that people can go back to, for sure. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I think we can call it a night. Vicki, thank you so much again for this excellent presentation. Do you would you like to leave us with any parting words?
Just go out there and have a great year, and eat healthy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you again, folks. Thank you for joining us, and you all have a great evening. God bless.